Welcome to World Language 101 and hello from the American International School of Budapest. When we talk about online translation for learning, we have to consider the pros, the cons, and this is exactly the purpose of this video. We will look at the pros, we'll look at the cons, and we will look at the expectations that we have here for our students at the school. Now let's start with the pros. Now the first advantage, and we've done it all, we've all used Google Translate to help us understand words or phrases. And so the first advantage is that online translation helps us understand and learn new words. Why shouldn't we forbid our students to do that? The second advantage is that it is so easy to search up new words to add variety to a written production. And this is very, very valuable for formative assessments especially, and homework. The third advantage is that online translation can help students check for accuracy in their work. So imagine they wrote a piece of writing in the target language and they want to check that the work is accurate. They can feed it in a translator and then check for accuracy. The fourth one is that online translation can get students to have a quick overview of the meaning of a text. They are reading in the target language. They don't want to check word by word what some of the words mean. They can feed the text that they are reading in the translator to get an overview. Number 5, online translators can help students understand assignments that are set by teachers in the target language, and it will really help them focus their attention to the details in the task. Number 6, online translation can help with translation when the teacher is not around. So imagine a student is given a task, it's all in the target language, or something is needed, a translation is needed, and there's no one around to help. Well, online translations is a great helper. And finally, online translators can really help students build vocabulary lists for themselves, and the Google Translate formula on Google Sheet is super useful for that. So these are the pros, 7 pros of online translation. Now let's look at the cons. The first one is that, well, when students write in the target language, say in French, Spanish, German, and they translate an entire piece of their writing from English into the target language, and they submit that work. Now that is no good. That should not be allowed. And that goes along hand in hand with the second con, which is that electronic translation can become an addiction. The more students do that, the less they use their brain, their thinking skill, to write their own, to write themselves. They use online translators only, and they forget about the work. Number 3, and that is also linked to the previous 2, and that is the fact that online translators slows down student learning. Because they are not learning, they are not making progress. Number 4, when you use online translators, you really never know if a translation is accurate unless you cross-check it. So using a dictionary or a teacher or a native speaker. So this is a pitfall of online translation. Number 5, electronic translation undermines your motivation to learn the language, and this is really linked to the previous 4. If you're not making progress, if you are not using your thinking skill to write in the target language, then students really get into the habit of becoming lazy, and they are not motivated to learn the language. And this is a big disadvantage of online translators. And finally, the last one, and that's probably the most important one for students, because translation can be considered as cheating. And teachers are very good at recognizing when students didn't use or used online translators rather than write their own text, for example. And some teachers are very strict on this. So, having looked at the pros and the cons of online translation, what are our expectations here in terms of academic honesty at AISB? Well, the first one is that the use of online dictionaries is allowed to help with comprehension. So students can look up words in the online translator, or even fill a whole text if they want to understand a task or a text that is given to them to process. And sometimes they can also use online translators, online dictionaries for their written production. Now, the second one is that if you are writing, you may look up how to translate a word, a phrase, even a sentence, but never translate an entire paragraph. So students have to be very, very careful that the work they submit is really their own. Number 3, always highlight the sections that were translated in your work. This is super important to acknowledge the source of the writing if it is not your own. Number 4, adequate use of dictionaries is added as a success criteria for all written assignments. So we have rubrics, and in the rubric there will be a point about adequate use of dictionaries, because teachers know when students have used a dictionary and they will be able to assess that. And this is what this point is about. And the last expectation is that students who do not acknowledge the use of electronic translation in their written production will be asked to redo their work. This is really, really important. So this is all there is to know about the use of online translators here at AISB. Thanks for listening, and please review this video in order to have a clear understanding of the expectations here at AISB.